Welcome to the greatest sports show in the world. Good week, everybody. Hey, it's just Nick this week for this episode. A little different recording. We had some things going on, right? We had some things, so we couldn't get together. So the girls are recording their own episode, and I am digging back through my podcast archives to bring you some old interviews because I really want to get back to interviewing players because I have interviewed some pro players before, and I know a lot of people like that kind of stuff. And so because we couldn't have time to hook up for a full episode, I decided, you know what? I'll find one of my old player interviews and we'll put it out. We're going to interview Connor Garland for the Phoenix Coyotes. Having quite the start to a year. This interview is a couple years old. It actually takes place after he scored against the Oilers by letting a puck hit him in the face. And I reached out to him and said, that's one beer league way to score a goal. You want to come on and talk about it? And he said yes. So that's what we're going to be doing today. Mainly what I want to talk about is a new sponsor that's coming on board. And then I want to talk about draft tournaments because I'm getting a ton of questions about these. A lot of new people through this podcast, through the Beer League Players Association, they're getting acquainted with the drafts. They're getting exposed to it. And so I get a lot of questions. So I figure, you know what? I will just have a little segment here and talk about what the draft is and why people should come to it. But first, let's talk about these new sponsors. Part of the focus for me with the Beer League Players Association and this podcast, the BLPA Big Show, is to find a way to support beer leaguers and to give them a voice. And every day I have conversations with company and people that want to come into our group, be a part of what we're doing to sell to our group. But that's all they want. Doesn't feel like to me they want to give back to beer leaguers. And I get it. These companies are businesses. They're in it to be a business. But I want to work with people that, sure, they'll make some money, but they'll also support Beer League and what we're trying to do and build. And our new sponsor, Hockey Wolf, that's what they do. I mean, Hockey Wolf, they're a full line team and retail dealer. They fit great with the BLPA. They promote camaraderie, experiences for all levels, and overall excitement for beer league sports. Basically, they love our concept of create an event and let's go play. And so hockeywolf.com, they're going to come on board. They're going to help us with a lot of things. One, first off, they're going to find good deals for players. I mean, you can go on, there will be a link in this podcast description. You go to it. It's a BLPA page. There's going to be exclusive deals for BLPA members. There's going to be a lot more BLPA merch offerings. And they're going to help us get our brand into pro shops around North America, which is rad. One way we can connect with new beer leaguers. So I'm super stoked about teaming up with hockeywolf.com. Sticks, skates, team gear, beer league helping beer leaguers. That's basically what it's about. And guess what? We're not just stopping at hockey. They have lacrosse stuff. They're trying to, like us, they understand that beer league is more than just hockey. I love hockey, but we also play a lot of different sports. So go check out hockeywolf.com, the official partner with the Beer League Players Association and the BLPA Big Show. Moving right along, let's talk about draft tournaments. So as I mentioned, draft season is upon us, right? We have a lot of draft tournaments coming up. We're less than a month away. Right now, I think we're right at 2 days from a month away from Ann Arbor. So the first 3 events for the tournament company and the BLPA. And the first one is Ann Arbor Draft Experience in Michigan. And then next weekend, the Omaha Draft Experience, Omaha, Nebraska. And then our very first ever BLPA Bash that is almost sold out. We have 2 intermediate team spots left and 1 female team spot left, and we're super stoked about that one. But let's talk about the drafts. A ton of people, as I mentioned, are getting exposed to the draft experience, and they're wondering what it is. It's different. I mean, I'm not saying the team experiences are bad. They're not. We do the BLPA Bash. They're just different. This is a different way to play. You don't need a full crew. You register as yourself. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about that. So basically, let me hold your hand and walk you through it here, all right? Close your eyes and imagine a weekend of hockey where you don't have to worry about goons, ringers, all that other bullshit that sometimes comes with adult tournaments. Well, guess what? You don't really have to imagine. These weekends exist, and they're called the draft experience. I know a lot of you guys have heard about them, but you're still not sure what they're about. Ton of questions about how we draft teams for the greatest adult hockey tournament in the world. I spent a lot of time chatting with players about it, so I thought creating this little segment on the podcast to be able just to roll it out when people ask was a good idea. Hey, I still want to talk to you. I love talking hockey. Hockey's my life. If you'd rather hear me tell you about how the draft works, just shoot me a message. I'm always down to talk draft experiences and beer league. So how do we draft? So when players register for a tournament, we ask them to rate themselves 1 through 10. We have a bunch of criteria in there. So you take your best guess with the knowledge of your skills and abilities, and you rate yourself. Now, I've never seen a 10 at a draft experience. I've seen 8s and 9s for sure. 9s not less so, but never a 10. So you're not a 10. Unless you're in the NHL right now or playing the AHL or really high level major junior hockey, you're not a 10. But anyway, this isn't an exact science. Most players tend to underrate their abilities, but there are also those that greatly overrate their abilities. You know who I'm talking about. White gloves, white skates, mirrored visor guy. But because I know that it happens, well, we also ask players to rate their friends that are coming to the event as well. Usually players are pretty close, but if a Trevor says he is an 8 and multiple friends say he's a 3, well, obviously then we give Trevor a little call to discuss. Now, once we have everyone registered, we go through the draft meticulously. And that's how we create our draft rounds. Now, listen, I'm originally from Oklahoma, and that's where I started playing puck. An Oklahoma 6, way different skill level than a Canadian 6. That's for sure. Now, listen, I'm not knocking Oklahoma hockey. I love Oklahoma hockey, but there is a difference between players that have the opportunity to play every day growing up and now versus my Oklahoma crew that get to play maybe twice a week if they're lucky. So sometimes I've got to go full on sleuth mode for the draft. It's not uncommon for me to search what beer league a player's playing, maybe contact the league commissioner to talk about the skill level in their leagues. And as an aside, because this is an issue, the BLPA is creating a universal ranking system, beerleaguedb.co. You can go check it out. It's in its very infancy. We're just trying to figure out how to build it and get more people in and then use an algorithm to kind of rate players and teams and yada, yada, yada. But hopefully for our tournaments, draft and team tournaments, and we also have some league experience options that we're working with now. We can try to find a way, we're never going to eradicate ringers. I get that, but just try to make it a little easier for teams and all that good stuff. But that's just an aside. But once we have all that, each round is created with players with similar skill levels. All the Canadian Sixers are in a round, and all the Oklahoma Sixes are in another round. And I'm not going to say if it's higher or lower, just a different round. Then the rounds are randomized, so no one knows what round number corresponds with what skill level. So the ringers, in air quotes, the higher level players, they could be all in round 3, or they could be in round 13. You never know. And that's what's so great about the draft is that every team is made up of players of similar skills. So you'll have a couple higher level players, you have a couple beginners, and then a good mix in between. So that's how parity kind of naturally evolves throughout these draft experiences. So how does the actual draft work? Easy. You'll show up at the draft party on Friday night, usually around 7:00 is when we start check-in. Hey, maybe you know a few people. Maybe you don't. It doesn't really matter. You're about to know everybody. Once the draft starts, things get a little crazy. I'm not going to lie. We're drinking beer. We're having fun. But usually the goalies are in the first round. I don't like to give goalies too much credit, but we do. It's just way easier to put these guys in the first round. And so we give goalies a solo cup of beer and the countdown starts and the goalies chug. The fastest chugging goalie gets first pick in round number 2. So the slowest chugger gets last pick in round number 2. And so round number 2 comes up. Same thing. Fastest chugger in that round gets first pick in round number 3. Slowest gets the slowest. And soon it'll be your round. it's your turn to chug. You'll be called to the front and you'll be drafted by a team. Then it's your turn to chug to try to help your team get first pick in the next round. Now, don't worry if you don't drink beer. I say chugging beer because that's what gets us excited as beer leaguers, but I do understand there are people that don't drink. There are other options available like ginger ale. So don't be afraid. If you think, oh, I don't drink, so I can't go, I'm not welcome, nothing could be further from the truth. So soon the teams are made, and now we have to pick schedules for the 5 games that your team will play over the next 2 days. Doesn't matter how many teams are in this tournament, 4, 6, 8, 10. Every team gets 5 games. Every team makes a championship. Well, what better way to decide schedules than another chug off? We line up each team individually, and we have a boat race. The fastest team gets first pick of the weekend schedule. Now listen, to me, between me and you, pro tip, this is the most important chug because let's face it, right now, at this point in the draft party, the night is still young. Nobody wants the first game of the morning because you're probably not going to be done partying with your new crew until the bar closes. Most important. This is also the one where people say that, oh, Nick cheats because his team always has, one of the top picks. Well, I'm a fast chugger for one. So that means usually all my other teammates are fast chuggers. I really take them to that next level. But what people don't understand is I have to be there all weekend, every game. So it doesn't matter to me when I play. No one else should cheat, though. I've seen some people cheating. We busted them. But anyway, so that's the most important one. And that's basically how the draft works. Once the schedules are picked, when you play, you can stay, keep partying with your friends. You can go home. But the draft is a huge part of the weekend. There's no two ways about it. I mean, the hockey is fun, but what sets these weekends apart, what makes them special are the draft parties. Not only do you get to start building camaraderie with your team, but also the opposing teams. And that's what I really like about the draft in terms of usually when you go to team tournaments, there's a little more animosity. Like people are there to win. Here, everyone makes a championship. No one really cares that much about winning. Now, I'm a competitive guy. I do like to win. But at the end of the day, it's not really the focus of these events. And we've had a lot of really, really good people that buy into that and make these things awesome. So not only does the draft help you start building camaraderie with your team, but also the other team. Leaving the bar with a whole tournament worth of friends, new and old, makes these weekends magical, special. So special that you'll soon be planning out your next draft experience trip with players that you just met that live all over the world. Truthfully, there's nothing better in hockey than the Dex crew, and I hope you become a part of it soon. If you have any questions, guys, hit me up. I'm down to talk about it. I just thought everyone was asking me these questions, so I would give it a go. I'd tell you a little bit about the drafts and the draft experiences. Hopefully this year, a big focus is to get draft parties, draft stories from the parties and the tournaments, so more people can feel connected. Because I know a lot of people, they're worried about doing something on their own. But let me just tell you, when I first moved to Canada, I literally knew nobody but my wife. Nobody. I didn't know anyone up here other than my wife and her family. And I went to one of these, and after the first night, I had 80 new Canadian friends, and it just kind of snowballed from there. I fell in love with the drafts, and now I do them full time, and I love them. There's no better way to play the game, to meet new friends, and I'm not saying it's the only way. A lot of different ways to play hockey, a lot of different tournaments to go to, but I care deeply about these events, not only because of my personal experience, but I have a lot of friends that come play in them, and so I feel personally responsible for making sure that these tournaments are really fun and an experience that people will love and remember and be able to tell their friends about. And it works out for us because then they go tell their friends and then they bring their friends, and it's really rad. So I care so much about these events, and I want people to come experience them just so they can know that, hey, they don't have to deal with what they've always dealt with. There's a different way to do it. You don't have to be scared. Come to a draft. I'll be your friend. All right, let's get to this week's episode. Like I said, this interview is a couple years old. I really want to get back into interviewing players. I got to get back on the grind and reaching out. The hardest part about interviewing players is finding players to commit to interview to you. So you're definitely out there just tweeting, sliding in those DMs, all that stuff. So if you know any pro players or people that have good hockey story that have been around the game for a long time, I'd love to talk to them. Hook me up, connect me. Now, I must warn you right now, I know right now I sound incredible, silky smooth. Like I've been doing this podcast for years. But the audio from this interview is less than what I would put out now. But I had certain things to work with. I use them to the best of my ability. And unfortunately, it's not the quality that I'd want to put out, but it's still talking to an NHL player about the game of hockey. And I think there's some value in that. I think it's cool. I think it's fun. So without further ado, American NHL player for the Arizona Coyotes, Connor Garland.
All right, Bear Leaguers, you're going to be stoked with our interview today. Today we have American-born hockey player that's led the Q in scoring, drafted in the 5th round in 2015, playing right now in the NHL with the Arizona Coyotes. Scored the greasiest goal ever with his face, a goal that I might add gained adoration from beer leaguers all over the world, and also probably supplied him with a lifetime supply of incredible Tinder profile pics. It's Connor Garland. Connor, how are you?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for doing this. And also just to say, Connor, if you have a special lady and she's listening, he doesn't have Tinder. I took some liberties with that. That's not true.
Yeah.
So
I know I cringed a little bit.
Yeah, man. But bro, let's get to it. Like, how's the face?
Face is actually healed up pretty much completely. I just have a little blood left in my eye that just needs to drain out eventually. But I'm back wearing my shield. I'm done with the bubble, so happy about that.
Well, in beer league, there's always the raging debate about should you wear a visor because you look fucking awesome in visors, or should you wear the cage to protect the face? Like you have no thoughts about, hey, I'm going to keep the little protection. You're just going to go back to the visor.
Yeah, I actually went back to it right after the game in Calgary. I couldn't do it. It's so hard to breathe in, and you got to wear your chin strap, which I haven't had on in about seven years. So I forgot how painful that was. But I'll go with the visor. Obviously, it's going to be a little bigger than a normal visor, just because I got to go back to the front of the net. So hopefully, won't have that happen again.
Yeah, I feel you. Well, I mean, let's talk about the goal. I mean, that had to be the most painful goal you've ever scored, right? I mean, I think I even read you didn't even know you'd scored when it hit you. So tell us a little bit about the goal, and does scoring on that play make taking a puck to the face any easier?
For sure it does. I mean, there was a lot of pain that night on the plane, and I mean, I was killing my head. I felt like I had a pounding headache just because of so much pressure, but it felt better the next morning. You wake up, and it was kind of funny that you scored off my head. But I think what happened was I was down on the ice after a cross check, and I was kind of like wondering, why wasn't there a call almost? So I looked up to see if the ref had his hand up. He didn't, and I went to grab my stick, and I got hit again, obviously with the puck. But at the time, I had no idea what it was, so I assumed I got cross checked again, or I kind of had a lapse almost where, like, am I still down from the first cross-check? So, but then I felt the blood, and I knew something else had happened, and, the team trainer came on, and a couple of the guys were talking to me, asking me if I was all right, but I was just asking them for more time because I just needed to figure out what had happened, and when I got up, I was skating off, and OEL just said, nice goal, kid. And you kind of see me look at him and laugh, and I said, no way, I scored. He said, yeah, off your head. So.
You know what's amazing is, like, you took that, and then you just go in the back, get a few stitches, you come back out, and you scored the game winner there, didn't you?
Yeah, I scored about 3 seconds into my next shift. It was just off the glass, and I just had as open as a net as you're going to get. It was just a lucky bounce, and I think it was another power play, so we kind of lucked out there.
Man, that's awesome. Well, you know what, like, let's go through kind of your career. Like, I mean, you're coming up on 2 months of being in the NHL now, but you're a Boston area born player. You went the junior route. Any reason you chose that the junior route over the college route?
Yeah, I think as a smaller guy, as I tried to play with a little more puck possession, a little more skill, that I thought junior fit my style a lot more than college. And college is more a little bit of dump and chase and strictly systems. And, I think junior lets guys play more open and, more creative. So I thought that would fit my style a lot more. And I think that was a big part of me making that decision.
And obviously it worked out for you. I mean, you're in the NHL. I mean, like I said, you're less than 2 months in. Like, how does it feel?
It's good. I mean, I feel a lot better now since, I've gotten adjusted and a little more calm. The first games are definitely tough. You're enjoying it, but you're trying to make sure there's another one after the game. So it's hard. It's definitely a fine line of, just trying to make sure you survive in the league. So as the game kind of slowed down, I felt a lot more comfortable and felt like I could make a few more plays every night. And, it definitely helped scoring my first goal, and that kind of relaxes you a little bit.
Well, now you're knocking on the door of double-digit goals up there in the bigs. And, I kind of look back through your stats, and you were leading scorer in the Q, and then you came to the A, and those numbers went down a little bit. But now you're back on track. Like, what happened there? Like, what caused the transition? Like, was it just learning a whole new game, or what goes on there?
Yeah, I played a different kind of style in junior where I had the puck a lot and I was more of a playmaker, and I got to pro, and it's so hard to beat people one-on-one, which I relied on in junior. So it was about learning how to, make plays in a different way and, a different style of game. So it took me about a year and a half to figure it out. And, the Coyotes helped me a ton and did a lot of film with the coaches through my first couple of years. So a great job developing a lot of the young guys. And, luckily a few of us are up there now and, helping contribute.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, in terms of where you grew up in the Northeastern United States, right about this time, I bet you're loving playing in Arizona, eh?
Yeah, I mean, there's not much better. It's 70, 80 degrees every day. And, we actually went home. My second game ever was in Boston. We went home and, it was so nice to be home, but you forget it's cold out there. So it's a nice time to be in Arizona. It's a beautiful place to live and, lucky enough to play in it.
Well, do you live in Scottsdale? Like, do you actually have a place, or are you still living out of a hotel?
No, I'm Scottsdale now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful city. I mean, it's a nice place to come home to after the rink, and nice places to eat. It's a beautiful place to live.
Yeah, I'll tell you, we go down there every November to play in a tournament. I've scored a few goals on that back practice rink where you guys are
the ice stand.
Yeah, man. And how about that bar they got in there is top notch, and it's just man. We come there every November when I'm in Calgary now, but it's getting cold up here, and it's nice to go down to Scottsdale and have a weekend where you can still get in the pool and the hot tub.
Yeah, that rink is nice. I've had a few breakfasts in there before some practice. That's a nice place.
Like, it's a long drive to the games. Like, can you kind of go over like how game days work? Like, do you practice over at the?
No, we practice mostly at the Gila River. So it's about a 30-minute ride. Sometimes 25. It's not too bad. You drive with one of the guys, hop in the HOV lane, and you get there pretty quick. So it's not terrible. It's a beautiful facility at the rink, so it has everything you need there. So it's a nice place to practice.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, our show's like I was telling you, our show's kind of an extension of the dressing room, and we're just trying to promote the sport of hockey to beer leaguers all over. Us beer leaguers, we don't get much recognition. We're just out there playing at 11:15 at night, and not getting home till 3 because you got to drink 2 or 3 beers after the game. But how about give us a locker room story? You got any funny stories? It doesn't have to be one in the Coyotes. It could be a junior story, but do you have something that comes to mind?
Well, I mean, I play in a beer league in the summer. I play in a league with all my best friends back home, and I wouldn't say it's I guess it's a beer league. Yeah. So, I mean, we've won it 2 years in a row now. It's the best time of the year. There's nothing better than being able to play with your buddies. I think our games are at like 8:00 at night, and
that's in Boston?
In Boston, yeah.
8:00, man. That's nice.
Yeah, that's a nice prime time. But we set up the room like it's it's a pro room. We got a table full of tape and Gatorades and waters, and we get there about an hour before the game, and just shoot the shit like anybody else, and we stay there pretty late. So, I mean, that's the best time of the year when you get to play with your buddies and, love the game. And I think that's a huge part for guys who, play year-round is you got to have a time where it's just nice and relaxed. And, I think that's the best thing about hockey.
Oh, for sure, man. And summer is great. Like, well, our times are a little earlier in in Calgary here in the summertime. But those 11:15s are killer. What's it like playing in Arizona? It's not the I guess hockey hotbed. There's a lot of passionate hockey fans, but one of the questions from our one of the listeners is, how does it feel playing in a place where hockey isn't the number one sport?
Yeah, I mean, you don't really think about that. We understand that, hockey isn't as big. Like, I grew up in Boston, and I mean, the Bruins aren't the number one team, but they still have a huge following. And I think the Coyotes we still have a huge following. And, I mean, our crowds have been great this year, and our fans have been great. But I think they're starting to recognize, and people are really starting to recognize that the team's kind of changing. And, that we're going to start in the next few years. We got a lot of young guys coming up and a good group of older guys where, we're going to start trying to compete for the playoffs here, especially this year where we're only 2 points out. So, I mean, people want to follow the team that wins, and, that's what we want to be, a team that wins games, night in and night out.
Yeah, for sure. Well, when I was growing up being a little guy and wanted to play pro sports, I really just wanted to do it so people would recognize me when I was out and about. Do people recognize you in Arizona when you're out and about?
No. I mean, I've gone out to eat with some guys who definitely get, recognized a lot more. So, but no, I actually am friends with a guy from back home, plays for the Bruins. So yeah, I mean, I noticed that, you definitely get recognized in cities more where it is a big deal, but it's not. I mean, like I said, we have such a great group of fans where, we get to meet them all the time and hang out with them. So that's not too much of a worry where, like I said, the crowds that I've been at home for have been awesome. So I really think it's changing.
For sure. Well, yeah, I mean, you keep talking about Boston, and hockey in Boston is obviously a big deal, and just in the States, like I'm from the Southern United States, so hockey wasn't huge when I was growing up. I didn't get into it until I met a Canadian. She kind of made me. But how are you feeling about just all the young American talent that's starting to come out of, I mean, obviously everywhere. You have Austin Matthews from Phoenix, obviously, but you have all these guys coming from Northeast United States that are just becoming superstars. Like, what do you attribute that kind of stuff to?
Yeah, I think the game grew a lot after the lockout with Crosby and Ovechkin, and those guys kind of changed the game a lot. And you're starting to see a lot more draft picks in the top 3, in the top 5, and even the top 10 that are American. And I mean, the game has grown since I've been a little kid, and I mean, you're going to start seeing more and more. I think the kid this year ranked number 1's American. So I mean, you're going to start seeing a lot more high draft picks that are Americans, and it's grown. So it's one of the bigger sports for kids nowadays, and it's only going to get bigger.
So who's got to be, like, you've only been in there for a couple months now, but who's probably the most skilled player that you've played against?
Well, this is a good question. I've played against Crosby, McKinnon. I think Kopitar is insanely underrated. It's a good question. Seeing Crosby up close was pretty insane. I mean, I've played against McDavid twice now, but I mean, I think those two stick out, Crosby and McDavid, and McKinnon right behind him, where they have a chance every shift. They make a play that you sit on the bench and you're like, wow. I mean, that's you wonder how they don't have 6-7 points a night, but it's such a hard league to be great in every night. So, but those two have been probably the most fun to watch for me, and I've seen some other guys up close that people don't even they don't get the same recognition, but there's a lot of good players in the league.
Well, you mentioned McDavid, and like obviously he's generational talent and all that stuff, but is he that much faster than everyone? Like, it always looks like he's just 2 strides ahead of everyone. You're just like, how?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty freaky. I mean, he can't. Yeah, he's just always moving. It seems like if you take your eye off him for a second, he has the skill to beat you one-on-one. He has the shot to beat the goalies from out far. I mean, he's a dangerous player whenever he's, over the blue line. So, I mean, I know a lot of teams, focus on him a lot, and, people don't realize how much attention he gets, and he's still able to produce every night.
Like, is that what happened? Like, when you go and play the Oilers, is that the game plan? Is you look at Connor McDavid and you're like, guys, we have to contain this guy?
Well, I mean, that's definitely a conversation you have where you got to be aware if he's on the ice. Like any team, whether it's, Crosby, Kopitar, McKinnon. I mean, a lot of teams say, let's keep these guys, try to minimize what they do against you. But they also have Draisaitl, and, they have a couple guys over there that can make some plays. And, I mean, any top player, I mean, we have Keller, he gets special attention. It's just the way it is. So, but he's definitely one of the harder guys to contain.
Hey, well, listen, because, I mean, everyone keeps saying, everything that I've read says, well, you're a smaller guy, right? You're 5'9", 5'10", somewhere around there. I've been setting you up trying to get you to say Gaudreau because I'm a Flames fan. So
I only played against him once, and the game didn't go that well. So, I mean, I'm obviously a huge fan of Gaudreau, and I met him when I went and visited BC as a young kid. And I mean, I remember I was just about an inch smaller than him, and I was 15 at the time. So that gave me a lot of hope. And, I knew that guy was going to be in the NHL. So it's someone I followed real close, and it was pretty cool to line up to him next to a draw and, be able to watch him, during the game and try to steal some stuff from him. So, yeah, he's going to be a good player for a long time.
Isn't it like, do you have to have like kind of it's weird. Like when you talk about players like Gaudreau, like it always seems like they have like this seventh sense, right? Where they just know where not to go to get hit.
Yeah, I think that's a key for smaller players where, you want to last. You don't want to have injuries. I mean, obviously smaller guys, you get hit by a lot of big guys time and time again. It's not going to end well for you. So I think something I always, thought was, act like, the other, the guys have a disease and just try to avoid them. just not let them touch it, whether it's spinning off hits and or just dumping it in a little early, just not to take an extra hit. And I think he's probably the best at that in the world, where he doesn't take hits at all. So it's actually pretty good to watch up close and see how he does it. So he's a good player to watch for smaller guys.
Yeah, for sure. Well, hey, I mean, as a small guy, you've been known to drop the mitts at all, or you stay away from that kind of stuff?
No, I think I only had three in the American League, but I got hurt once in a fight in junior, so I said that was it for me. It's sometimes you just, you do it, and I think the last time I fought was somebody on the ice got hit pretty late, so I had to. But unless it's a rare case, I'm not going to be fighting anytime soon. Yeah,
man, I see these beer leaguers. Like, I started skating when I was 30 in Oklahoma, for crying out loud, and people are always trying to drop the mitts in beer league. And I was like, dude, I can barely stand up. I don't know what it is. Like, yeah. Well, hey, man. Like, well, let me just give you a couple listener questions here that they want to know before I don't want to keep it too long here. What's your most memorable goal in your career?
Probably I scored a goal in the playoffs last year in the American League, and it was kind of the clincher to move on to a next round. And I just remember scoring, and it was a scrum in front and getting up, and how excited our team was, and the guys who were on the ice were jumping around, and it's kind of felt a bit of a relief. So I think that was one of the more memorable, just a big goal, and how exciting that was.
What about your first NHL goal? Do you remember that one? How'd that happen?
It was a breakaway on Colorado, and it was just kind of a quick snapshot, and just went over his pad. Obviously, you think about that one kind of your whole life, and you dream about it, and when it happens, it's kind of a numb feeling and a feeling of relief. So, but that'll be one I enjoy. But I don't know, for some reason, just seeing the excitement on the guys, on my team, that was the one in the American League, for some reason feels a little better.
Oh yeah. Well, it's kind of crazy. Like you talk about the different sports, and hockey's definitely that team sport, right? Like it seems like the personal accolades, cool, but if your team is happy, that kind of makes everything a bit more special, eh?
Yeah, I mean, especially in the playoffs. I mean, we had a great team last year, and we, obviously getting into the playoffs the first time in Tucson's history, and it was to move on to the second round. So yeah, that was a definitely exciting one. Yeah.
All right. Well, one of our listeners is very jealous of your salad. And
my style?
No, yeah, your style and your salad, your hair.
Oh yeah. Well, it's getting cut soon. It's once that there was a tweet from who is that Danny Heatley guy? I said, that's it for me. I got to get a haircut. So.
Well, they want to know what shampoo you use on that stuff.
I don't even know. Whatever the teams apply.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I think he also mentioned, he mentioned your style as well. Like I run in this group that we're called equipment gear whores. Like, we just love hockey equipment. We collect. We all have our certain thing, and his thing is helmets. And he wants to know how much thought you kind of put into the stuff you wear on the ice. Like, is it just an afterthought, like the shampoo, or are you just like, hey, I need to wear this? I got to.
No. So yeah, I know a lot of guys take time and are pretty precise on what they wear. But whatever I've worn since I've been young, I still wear. So I don't think much about it. I know I have a Bauer 4500, and I wore that.
That's exactly what he said. He's like, to ask him about his Bauer 4500. Yeah,
it's just the most comfortable helmet. I know there's probably a lot better helmets nowadays, but it's a lot more comfortable. I think we got 4 guys on our team with it. So but maybe, I mean, I don't plan on changing any. I have a big visor and 45. I know I don't have the best style, but I wear what's ever most comfortable.
Awesome. All right. Well, a couple guys have been asking me about the trash talk on the ice. Where do you think the best chirping goes on? Is it juniors? Is it in the AHL or the NHL?
Juniors, because I don't hear it as much. I mean, no one really says much in the NHL. It's more, in juniors. Juniors, nobody really stops talking. So that's the most you're going to hear it is in the Quebec League.
How about you? Were you full of the chirps?
When I was younger, yeah, and then I realized it does nothing. It's just a waste of energy. I mean, you can't spend the whole game talking, or you're going to forget to play. So when I got older, I tried to stop, and but unfortunately, I probably had a rep that I was a talker because of how much I talked when I was 16 and 17.
Yeah, I got you. Where's been your favorite NHL city to play in outside of? I know Phoenix is home, but outside of that, what's been your favorite city to visit?
We just played in the Bell Center, and I thought that was unbelievable. I mean, they do a great job with the video entrance, and the crowd was unbelievable, and it's just a historic building. So I thought that was probably the number one building I've been able to play in, besides obviously at home.
Any building you're looking forward to here coming up?
Vegas. I know we have Vegas coming up. It's the dad's trip, so excited to have my father come out and come to a game. And I played in Vegas in a preseason. It was the loudest building I've ever been in, so excited to see what it is like for a regular season game.
Sweet, man. All right, well, last question here, and I'll let you run here. You being a Boston boy, you know Barstool, and they got Spittin' Chicklets. Has Spittin' Chicklets asked you to be on yet?
No. Biz works for the team, and I see him around, but no, I haven't been asked. And actually, Witt's from my hometown too. He's a good man, and I mean, they do a great job. I've listened to it a few times. It's good. I mean, like you said, it helps when you have stuff like that. It helps grow the game, and regular fans get to listen to that and get some in-depth stuff. So that stuff's all great.
For sure, but I just want to say that when this day may come, it may never come, but if it does, and they ask NHL players what is their favorite hockey podcast between Beer League Talk and Spittin' Chicklets, you just remember that we had you on.
That's true. Loyalty.
Yeah, brand loyalty. All right, buddy. Well, I'll let you go, man. I thank you for talking to us. Hopefully we can get you on again. We'll be following you around. You're like I said, you're the beer leaguer's hero with going to the gritty areas and being a smaller guy and just going out there and giving her every game. So we're definitely going to be following you.
Thank you. I appreciate it quite a bit. Talk to you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
All right, friends, that was Connor Garland. I hope you enjoyed the interview. Like I said, it's a couple years old. I was doing it for another show, but now we're on to bigger and better things. Way bigger, way better. But I hope you enjoy interviews like that, because I really want to focus on getting stuff like that going again. Way more media content is the plan. Go follow us, BLPA Big Show, but mostly just the BLPA at every single social media network. Again, huge shout out to our new sponsor, Hockey Wolf, hockeywolf.com. These guys are going to make it happen for us. They're taking the BLPA brand to the world. They're hooking us up. They're helping get beer leaguers great prices, great deals, help you get further in the game, because hockey is an expensive sport. We need all the help we can get. Other than that, guys, we'll see you next week. You have a good week. Love you guys. Be good, or be good at it.